My name is Stephen Parr. I'm the director of Oddball Films in San Francisco. I was made aware of AMIA through a variety of sources, colleagues, um, my searches on the internet, and I was invited to AMIA to a conference in quite a few years ago, probably about 15 years ago in Miami. And so that's really pretty much what drew me, because I was told that it was a real mix of uh, professional archivists, institutions, collectors, and that's really what drew me. They've all been memorable in their own ways. One of the some of the live events that I've produced have been particularly memorable because they they're more vibrant. They're a little bit more unconventional than than the specific kind of panel presentation and Q&A. So some of the ones that I enjoyed doing were the Film on Fog program in Austin, where we projected film onto a wall of fog. The 10,000 Peacock Feathers and Foaming Acid installation and performance in St. Louis, where the artists use laser light to project beams through soap bubbles. And also I like when there's kind of an interaction with the audience. And it has more of a integration of various media, film, sound, video. Those are the things that are really highlights. But there's many different highlights that I have. Sometimes there'll be one particular image or clip that I might see from a presentation, something maybe at archival screening night that just is really remarkable. And sometimes just the free flow of information from someone. Someone will say, "Oh, have you read this?" And then all of a sudden I'll say, "No, I haven't." And then when I go back and read it, it changes my whole perspective on archiving. So sometimes those moments are more memorable than anything, even though I oftentimes forget them. Yeah, I think everybody is willing to share all the knowledge and information that they have in a really generous way, and that really contributes to the field at large, and it invigorates people when they leave. The conference is also alternately exhilarating and exhausting because it's impossible to do everything. It's impossible to get up early and stay up late. You just can't really physically do it. So you have to really be selective about what you choose to do. And sometimes I'm just having a conversation with someone that I decide that that's more valuable at the moment than something that I had planned on seeing, for 2 months. And sometimes I'll just walk into something that I hadn't planned on seeing, and it kind of changes my whole perspective on things. I believe I started doing it in Alaska, in Anchorage, and I think I may have done it before that. And I always thought it was really important, and I still think it's important, that the host city, that there's some representation of the host city. And being chair of the Independent Media Committee for probably 10 years or so, I looked for independent image makers from those communities that we visited, and in an attempt to make build a kind of a network, camaraderie, exchange aesthetics, Um, and I think it kind of lands the concept of we're not just in Portland because it's a cheap place for people to stay. We're staying here because it has history, it has a rich cultural history, there's a moving image community here. And I think one of the programs that I did in Alaska in Anchorage, I really enjoyed because it was a lot of at youth risk. It was 3 or 4 organizations. It was there was an Anchorage film festival. There was some youth, at-risk youth that had made moving images. And I don't recall the other organization. I think it was a women's organization. And it was really exciting to see people presenting their work at a conference and getting connected to the larger archival community, because there's several large archival organizations. I think there's FIAF and there's a few others, but I think AMIA really is really unique because it's not. I think a filmmaker could feel very comfortable here, and someone from a corporate environment could feel comfortable. And I think everybody really appreciates and values that exchange, because I don't really want to necessarily associate with people like myself all the time. That's what I do every day. I've seen a lot of new members and develop. I mean, I've had probably in our internship program at Oddball, we probably graduated at least a half a dozen students from the Selznick School. They went from, and they came from all fields, and they would do an internship at Oddball, and then they'd say, I really love this work, and I'd like to go to school. What would you suggest? And I would tell them about the moving image program at NYU. We've had several students, interns go there. The program at UCLA. There was one at East Anglia. We had a student, an intern go there. And now I'm seeing a lot of these people doing presentations, people running for the board, making really important contributions. And I know myself, when I came, I was asked to do a presentation the first time that I came to Miami, and I felt like I was really welcomed. And generally what I do is fairly unconventional, because I was a film and videotape distributor for a number of years, and a promoter and a publisher of small press books. So I've done a lot of kind of underground, avant-garde, outside the box kind of work, and everyone was really open about accepting my ideas. So, if you ask someone, if you look at say the program for the year for the conference, and you say, well, there's a lot of tech stuff here, and someone would just say, well, just make a presentation for yourself. Just if you think that there should be more screenings, just propose it. And mostly, if you have a good idea and it hasn't been done before too recently, it's going to be accepted. I went to a meeting of the Independent Media Committee today, and we were talking about a stream. And I think it's a good idea. It kind of puts a thread through the conference, and without making it completely thematic. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's good to experiment with the way the conference is presented. I would like to see screenings being done in the day in the afternoon. Most of the screenings are relegated into the evening, and a lot of times in the evening people want to socialize. People are tired in the evening. It's not actually an ideal time to watch things at night. I'd like to see things presented in different ways. So instead of necessarily a presentation, a PowerPoint, maybe something that's more interactive. And it takes probably, to do a 1 hour presentation of any sort in AMIA, it takes between 30 and 40 hours of work. You know, when you talk to all the people that you want to have present, when you write up the descriptions, when you go back and forth, when you arrange for equipment and hardware and software, and show up and rehearse it, it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And that's something that you have to think about before you go into it. There was some type of a guide that AMIA had a while back. It was I think it was distributed through, you know, how to get your proposal accepted. There was something similar to that.
Huh.
I mean, when your proposal is accepted, there's all these guidelines that kind of walk you through it. And it's a little daunting when you look at it. You say, you know, by this date, you have to have this description in. By this date, you have to confirm all your people. And I understand why they do that, because for somebody that isn't used to presenting, that would be a problem. Because, oh, have you confirmed this person? Well, I haven't talked to them yet. I just kind of do it intuitively, but I think it would be useful to have something that talks about how to present your work to a symposium or a conference. A lot of times people are in an archive and they don't know how to do social media, so to speak, or they have this film collection and they don't really know what to do with it. They're trying to get PR for it, and they're trying to get more awareness of it. They could just curate a series of screenings. They could have the person who donated the materials come to the archive and speak and show some of the work and build a community based on that, and draw more people in. I mean, that's what a lot of public television does. That they have these where you can donate your car or you can donate money, and then they show you how to. They kind of tell you how to do it. They have these kind of testimonials from people. But I would say that would be pretty useful. How to promote your archive, how to promote your collection. It's a great question, and there's a whole, I could talk for a long time about it, but I would say one is that it put me in touch with a larger archival community, with a variety of archival communities that really exist. You know, professional archives, nonprofit archives, institutional archives, private archives. So it's put me in touch with a wide variety of archives. It's put me with a wide variety of vendors, technologists, people who are, you know, creating technologies to improve the archiving process. It's allowed me to express creative ideas and put those out there using archival materials, present different viewpoints, aesthetic viewpoints. I think it's given our organization visibility, more visibility, and I think that's pretty much it. I think it's done a lot of things, because like I said previously, the conference itself is very exhilarating, and it's exhausting as well because there's so much information. But through the course of a year, a lot of things sink in, and there is the listserv, and there's several committees that I'm a member of, so there's a lot of communication during the year, and it keeps for me, it gives me a perspective on the work that everyone's doing, which is, it's strong work, it's important work, and it gives me insight into my role, because I'm working in a rarefied environment. There are no other companies like mine in San Francisco. So I think it does a lot. The organization does a lot. I think it's probably really expanded enormously since it started 25 years ago. I think this conference, I think there's more, this is probably the biggest conference that they've had yet. Well, that's really, it's really kind of Yvonne to do that, to mention me. Actually, Lauren, who was co-chair of that committee as well, Lauren Sorensen was also one of my interns, and she actually had I kind of created a position for her as an intern, because normally interns come in during the week and they work with our staff. And in this case, Lauren was working full time, and she said, well, I can come in on Saturdays. And most people are very enthusiastic about working on Saturdays until they do it a couple times. But for probably almost every week for a year, she came in and worked on one collection, and she cataloged it and transferred it and logged it. And I felt like that was a real accomplishment, not only for myself by carving out that time, but for overseeing, someone on a personal level. And I think that it's kind of in some ways it's kind of a natural thing when people come into the organization. I see myself as, like, when I first came in, people were very helpful, people were very sharing of information, very encouraging, and I love to do that. This year was the first year in a long time they didn't have the mentor mixer, and that's great, because if you just show up here and you don't know anybody, it takes you a little while to get oriented. It's not just about the sessions, it's about meeting people, collaborating with people, the committees. There's a whole thing. But I really enjoy mentoring people, and it's really rewarding to know when I come here, and I even go out in my community in San Francisco to see people that, maybe I gave them, like the other day I donated a moviola to someone, and she's a filmmaker, and I set her up with some 35mm film and some split reels, and she was so excited. She was just ready to get started, and she'd already created films on her own, and I just think it's a natural thing for me to do, and I actually gain a lot from it, and because when I see someone who I think is really passionate about what they do, that's really infectious. And for what they might lack in technical knowledge, they make up for in passion, commitment, dedication, eagerness. And if they're younger, and most people that are joining are usually younger than I am, they bring youthful energy and the ability to bring in tools that I wasn't exposed to. A lot of people have been, working with electronic and digital tools for most of their lives now. So if you're 25 years old, you might have been working with digital technology for 15 years. So that gives you a real good start, and you have a lot to contribute too. Well, I think that it's a very welcoming and very vital organization, and I think that everybody that's involved is contributing and understands the fact that that moving image archiving is changing as we speak. And everybody's really involved in making those changes. And everybody's really active in preserving the past and moving towards the future. And I think there's a lot of awareness in the organization of what our challenges are and what our accomplishments are. So I think it's a very, like I said before, a really vital organization because there's a good self-awareness. So yeah, that's pretty much it.